Welcome to the Discover Uncover podcast series. We hope you come away with a deeper sense of Michigan's history and how the objects and stories of the past relate to today's culture, customs, and society. Thanks for tuning in, and we hope you enjoy the Discover Uncover podcast series.
Hi, welcome back to another episode of Discover Uncover. My name is Sarah Dickinson. I am the registrar and exhibit liaison here at the Sloan Museum. And today I am here with Geoff, our curator of collections, Geoff Woodcox. Hi.
Hi, Sarah. How are you doing today?
I am good. How are you?
I'm good. I am really excited to talk about our community gallery. I can tell you are too.
I'm so excited. Tell me more.
So you're a part of the community gallery as well.
I am.
For those of you who don't know, we have a space here at Sloan Museum. It's about 1,000 square feet that we work together with community groups to curate the content. Mm-hmm. And we're starting out, kicking off this program, working with the Hurley Medical Center on creating an exhibit about healthcare in Genesee County, which is a pretty general topic. We talk a little bit about the history of Hurley Medical Center. You know, its start in 1908 with a gift of money and land from James Hurley. That's where the name comes from.
Okay.
He was an immigrant and a businessman here in the Flint area, and its transformation into a level 1 trauma center that it is today.
Okay.
It's been a really fun process. As you know, we started about a year ago.
We did.
And have started working on the exhibit content and figuring out what exactly we want to say, working with Hurley on that every step of the way. And I think one of the most exciting things is all of the objects that they were able to help us secure, which you played a part in that, big part in that.
I did.
Can you tell us about some of the stuff that you did as part of this process?
Sure. So my part in this really involved kind of contacting some of the people who are going to be loaning us stuff or donating. We have separate but similar processes for that. So I contacted people who were potentially interested in loaning us things. Patriot Ambulance was one of those institutions, and they were so on board for helping us out and lent us a bunch of objects. So I kind of helped coordinate the logistics of that, and I'll be helping later with the install and kind of figuring out the end portion of how that's going to go. Yeah, it'll be set up so that people won't be able to really interact with these objects just because they are on loan to us from these people, these institutions, and we want to be able to give them back to them. So if it's interactable, we'll let people know, but for the most part, a lot of this material will not be.
Absolutely. It's been a lot of work.
It has been, but it's so exciting, and people were so enthused about being part of it that it really was a little infectious, pun intended.
So I think one of the more interesting parts of this exhibit to me is that it mostly focuses on sort of response to trauma. Essentially, if you go to the emergency room. So essentially we walk through the process from the time you call 911 until you go to the emergency room and end up on a general care floor. So that's kind of the story that we're telling alongside Hurley and healthcare history. You're right, we did have a lot of very generous partners who provided a lot of different types of equipment and materials. One of the things that we're actually looking to do, and we're still developing this, is to create a hospital room inside the exhibit. And what sorts of things did we get to fill that hospital room?
We got all kinds of things. We got the bed behind us and the monitor. We also have a table for going over the bed, a bedside drawers, an IV stand and setup. They very kindly lent us like a full IV bag for that of saline solution. Yeah, plenty of stuff to really fill out that space and make it really feel like you're in a hospital room.
Yeah, our hope is to make this kind of an immersive space that you walk into, make you feel like you're there.
Yeah.
I was very surprised at people's generosity, particularly Patriot Ambulance. They provided the stretcher that's behind us here and a lot of medical equipment. I believe this is an AED or a defibrillator.
It's a heart monitor.
It's a heart monitor. Okay.
Yeah.
And so this is something that would actually be used in the ambulance then?
It would. Yeah, so it's got a little travel pack that's with it full of other medical supplies, kind of a all you could need travel bag for monitoring someone's heart.
Very nice. So yeah, in addition to talking about the hospital, we're also talking about ambulances and paramedics. I, for one, I don't know about you, but I was really geeked about paramedics and firefighters when I was a kid. Was that the case for you?
No, I was construction workers,
You
but
were
I
construction
understand.
workers. Okay.
I can get behind the appeal.
Yeah.
I think it's very interesting. It's a behind the scenes look that a lot of people don't get or maybe aren't paying very much attention to when they do get it.
Got something on their mind usually. When...
Yeah, a few things probably. Maybe thinking how cool the ambulance they're in at the time is not first on their mind.
Well, one thing that's really cool, speaking of ambulances, is we've been talking with Patriot about actually getting a full-size ambulance for the exhibit that people can actually climb inside, which I think is really cool, and I was super excited when we found out that was a go.
Yes. They've already talked about getting it detailed, making sure that the doors can be opened and left opened for that. So it's very exciting to see it all coming together. It's so nice to have community partners that are so enthusiastic about helping and so willing to kind of go the extra mile to make this all come together. It certainly takes a village, and the village has really been pitching in.
Yeah, that's good. I like that.
Thank you.
I did mention this is a new program that we're kicking off. This is our first exhibit with a community group. We are hoping to do this with more community groups. It's not going to be a constant thing. After this particular exhibit is here for 12 months, so you'll have plenty of time to see it. And after that, we'll be using the space for something else. Our next slot is probably going to open up in 2027 or 2028. But if you or a group that you work for or volunteer for are interested in joining in and doing a community gallery exhibit, we do encourage you to reach out. Collections@sloanlongway.org is a good way to reach both Sarah and I if you have any interest in doing this. So I guess we could talk about the process a little bit.
Sure.
With this, you know, we work with the community groups to figure out what's the story that they really want to tell. And the way that I like to think of this is the exhibit is a byproduct, and the main aim of this is to build a relationship with a group.
Absolutely.
And so that's kind of what goes into when we're evaluating who we would like to partner with on these sorts of things.
Right.
Is, you know, someone that we can build a relationship with. We work with them to help hone the story and figure out what they actually want to say and what's going to fit both within our overall exhibit philosophy here at Sloan, and also what's going to be interesting to people. So it's quite the process.
I know you work really hard to make sure it's a mutually beneficial relationship, and we really try to make sure that our community partners are also benefiting from being able to utilize that space. And who better to, you know, help represent as one of our first ones than the people who provide everyone health care.
Absolutely.
So they're a level 1 trauma center, you said?
Yes, that's correct. One of the few in this area of the state, in fact.
Okay, so they've seen some of the worst incidents over the years that Genesee County has had. Did they have much to do with the pandemic?
They absolutely did, and that's a story that as we've been talking to their staff, because we've talked to all kinds of different staff, from nurses to doctors to community outreach staff as well, all of them seem to have a COVID story.
I bet.
You know, of course, as with any hospital, had a very severe impact on their operations and completely changed the way people think of healthcare.
Right.
And I think that was one of the more impactful conversations that we had, was hearing about people's COVID stories from a healthcare perspective. A lot of times when people think about a museum collection, they think of ancient dusty artifacts, things like dinosaur bones, ancient Roman coins, which we've talked about, things like that. But museums actually do collect from the modern era. And you've done a lot of proactive collecting yourself.
Tried, yeah.
Yes, and been successful in some ways. But there are a lot of things that people might not think of as being historically significant. And you got to think of it from the perspective of somebody who's 50 years down the road and what's going to be significant to them. And furthermore, what kind of stories can we preserve by collecting these objects?
Absolutely.
So one thing I would like to encourage our viewers and our listeners to do is, if you have any objects that are related to the pandemic, things that when you think about your life in 2020, in March of 2020, And this object is something that comes to mind, that there's a personal story associated with it. For instance, we recently collected a mask, a cloth mask that somebody's parents had made in March of 2020. I mean, it's those sorts of little mundane things that are going to help our successors 50 years down the road tell this very human story that everybody who's listening to us, everybody who's watching this episode right now, they all have a story, whether it's good, bad, indifferent, scary, funny. It had an impact on all of us.
It did.
But hearing about those healthcare stories was something that was totally different as part of this process. And we're not really focusing on COVID as part of the exhibit, but we have used it as an opportunity to collect, to hear about what life was like really on the front lines of this pandemic in March of 2020.
Yeah, the stories that people tell are so varied, and people have had so many different experiences with it, and it's very interesting and often heartbreaking to hear what people went through. I think part of processing that after the fact, it is helpful to hear that you were not alone in what you experienced.
There's, as I'm talking to a lot of different people, whether they're healthcare workers or not healthcare workers, there's some universal things that run through everybody's stories, you know, that initial fear and apprehension, preparing in whatever way you could or wanted to. Just a lot of elements like that and a lot of commonalities no matter where you're from.
Absolutely.
So that has definitely been one beneficial thing that arose out of this, was giving us this opportunity to collect from this very significant period in our recent history. And I feel like we're getting to a point where people are ready to start processing and talking about it a little bit more.
Yes, absolutely.
If this exhibit is a topic that would be interesting to you, we encourage you to come see it. It's going to open in late June of this year, so June of 2024, and it's going to be up until June of 2025, so you'll have plenty of opportunity to see it. We're hoping to have some programming around it as well, so hopefully there will be multiple ways for you to engage with it, and we encourage you to come see us. As a side note, if you're a Genesee County resident, you do receive free general admission to the Sloan Museum of Discovery and reduced admission to our shows at Longway Planetarium. So definitely, if you're a Genesee County resident, we encourage you to come on down. And if you're not, we encourage you as well.
We do. Thank you so much for watching. We really appreciate your viewership. And if you have any questions that you would like answered on the next episode of the Discover Uncover podcast, please don't hesitate to give us a call. Our number is 810-237-3417. And if you don't want to call, we do have an email you can use. It is podcast@sloanlongway.org. Thank you so much.